they are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
Plus, of course, the lead up to the party primaries concluded just last weekend.
Well, the National Assembly has resumed, and it resumed on Tuesday with all eyes on the Green Dome housing the red and the green chambers. But the deaths of members during the recess and that of the First Republic Deputy Speaker must have doused attention as the legislators scaled down business in honor of the duo.
Wednesday, that was yesterday, also witnessed calm proceedings with some very important resolutions on issues of national importance, such as the INEC budget, the search for the missing general in Plateau, plus, of course, the Senate confirmation of some appointments proposed by the president.
You would agree with me that this is what is expected of the legislature, and of course their duty is to attend to national issues and enacting laws that will facilitate the good governance and the well-being of Nigerians.
Well, now that the lawmakers have resumed from their long recess, Nigerians, of course, are looking forward to their contributions. There was the implementation of the budget, that's to say the national budget, which was passed very late. Plus, of course, seeking to resolve the controversy over the amendment to the Electoral Act, considering that next year's elections are just about 4 months away, and a host of other pressing issues that will require the attention of the lawmakers.
Now, that's exactly what today's edition of the program will, of course, in the first of a two-topic discuss. One is the National Assembly, that's a resumption of the National Assembly and matters arising. And of course, we shall also pay attention to what should the legislators be doing now that they have resumed. Why has the National Assembly continued to be in the news for bad reasons? When will the legislators have the confidence of the public?
All right, so those are some of the questions that our discussants will seek to provide answers to on Good Morning Nigeria today. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. I would like to welcome you to the program, reaching you as always live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're right here at the Abuja headquarters studios.
And I'm Rhoda Anonam. Thank you for joining us on today's edition. Of course, like I said earlier, we'll also be discussing the girl child in Nigeria. As usual, we'll have our companion segments, and that includes a newspaper review. We have business, sports, foreign, and entertainment news. But first, let's take the news highlights with Claire Adelabu Abdurazak. Claire, of course, we had some little hitch this morning, starting a few minutes behind time, but thank God our engineers have been able to resolve the issue.
Indeed, Rhoda, thank you. And that's why we'll quickly gain some time with the news. And we'll begin with the minimum wage. And the federal government says there is no agreement yet by the National Minimum Wage Committee on the new minimum wage for workers in the country. Now, Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, who made the clarification at a news briefing after the Federal Executive Council meeting, however, said negotiations are still ongoing and that the capacity to pay by employers remains the guiding principles.
Unions adjusted their figures and came down to 30,000 per month. Organized private sector adjust their figures from 25, which they had earlier proposed, to 30,000. The state government figure as the last time was 20,000. The federal government had a figure of 24,000, and that was where we all stood. And this negotiation took into account these irreducible offers from the different governments, but we could not arrive at a consensus. We are still continuing to discuss informally to see if we can arrive at a common figure.
And away from that now to politics, the Progressive Governors Forum has restated its confidence in the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari and promised to work towards the renewal of his mandate in 2019. Chairman of the forum and Governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, stated this after leading some members on a solidarity visit to the president.
We have come to request from Mr. President for the dates, for the governors to come together with our followers and supporters to further inform the world of our readiness to deliver him the 2019 election. Our election this time will not engage castigations or talking. We'll be talking on issues. Nigerians are tired of political abuses. What we want to be talking about is issues and track records of people involved in our elections. Nigerians are very wise now. Before they elect anybody, they will ask questions. What has been your track record? Who were you before and who are you now? And everything about you. And for that reason, we are confident that 2019 APC will put through.
We are a government that has credibly performed. This campaign will be driven by issues. This campaign must be predicated on what you are able to bring to the table for the people of Nigeria. It's not going to be a noisy campaign. Anybody that is preparing for noise should be prepared to receive defeat in February of 2019.
Now, the All Progressives Congress says in the spirit of due compliance with the law, it will present candidates for governorship, National Assembly and State Assembly elections in Zamfara State for the 2019 general elections before the deadline for submission of such names. In a letter to the Independent National Electoral Commission signed by the National Chairman, Comrade Adams Oshomole, denied claims by INEC that no primaries were conducted by the party in Zamfara State. Comrade Oshomole says following the high level of friction, disagreements and threatened violence by various political camps before the primaries, all aspirants met at City King Hotel in Gusau, where consensus was reached and a list of candidates produced, which was confirmed and affirmed by all delegates present in strict compliance with Section 87, subsection 6 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended. And timely approval on release of funding to Electoral Commission remains a significant measure towards ensuring free, fair and credible election, which is why President Muhammadu Buhari has for the second time written the Senate requesting approval of 242.4 billion naira environment in the 2018 budget for the 2019 general elections.
Election expenses shall not exceed the sum stipulated in subsection 2 to 7, 5 billion naira for presidential elections. Section 91.3, 1 billion naira for governorship.
Section 5.2, no individual or entity shall donate to a candidate more than 10 million naira. I don't see the logic in that, Mr. President. So long as the entity or the individual earns his money legitimately.
Prior to election time, with the stated time, the sample of the ballot paper should be availed to the various political parties. INEC observe those two prior primaries. Who takes a decision? I think this area should be expunged and allow the party to take a decision who becomes their candidate.
Noteworthy to mention that all issues raised by Mr. President, ranging from election sequence down to cross-referencing error, shall be addressed. When are they going to be addressed?
All the issues that have been raised have been addressed, and then we bring it back to the plenary for third reading.
Also, the Senate Committee on Appropriation, in a swift response, approved INEC's budget for the 2019 general elections, and that's in line with the presidential request.
Today, we have considered the request, Mr. President, and as far as the INEC aspect is concerned, we are granting his request for both 2018 and 2019 to be reflected, and then the 2018 budget will be amended to accommodate that amount Mr. President requested, which is 189,207,544,893
naira.
And at the House of Representatives plenary, the presidential request for the Independent National Electoral Commission budget for 2019 elections also topped the agenda with a view to ensuring a hit-free conduct of 2019 general elections.
Into the last leg of our tenure, we should not lose sight of the fact that we still have much business to do. I urge us not to be so absorbed by the politics of 2019 as to allow our legislative duties to suffer. We must utilize the available time judiciously to serve the country and our people to the best of our ability.
Finally, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has again declared state of national disaster in 2 additional states of Rivers and Bayelsa. This is due to the level of devastation by flood in those states. Director General of the agency, Mustafa Mihaja, made a declaration when he convened a stakeholders meeting to review its operations in affected states by flood, with emphasis on more deployment of foodstuffs and educational facilities. The declaration brings to 6 the number of states under national disaster cover.
What we are now trying to do is to respond to the disaster, the needs of the people, the affected people, those really in need, and then provide their needs, and also thinking about if we can provide some basic shelters now, it will prevent them, particularly those in the villages, prevent them from going back to where they were. Some of the things we are trying to quickly do, something that can reduce the possible consequences of the next year's disaster if it should happen.
And those are the news we are following for now. There'll be more at 10. That's on news. But if you do have a girl child, advise you stay tuned. Who knows? You might learn 1 or 2 new things about your girl. That's after the break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem promptly through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime. We bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
When I was a little girl, I loved spending time with Mum and Grandma cleaning the house. I was so excited to sing in the choir. And your shirts are always so white. I knew what Mum's secret was. Today, I'm a modern woman that still trusts the secrets passed down to me. It's Jik, of course. The original trusted bleach, which can be used all around your house for amazing results. Shh, it's our little secret. It's no secret. It's Jik's best ever extra whitening power. Just Jik it.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. Every day, 16,000 children under the ages of 5 and thousands of adults die from infectious diseases. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily in unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilets, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's One Cup Full for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol Sure, endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
Use Dettol Skin Jelly, which protects against germs for a healthy, smooth skin every day.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
Kehinde suffers from indigestion. His twin Taiyi suffers from heartburn. Sometimes it's the other way around, or both. That's why they use Gaviscon Double Action. It soothes within 3 minutes and lasts for up to 4 hours. For double relief from heartburn and indigestion, Gaviscon Double Action.
Winning in hot and dry conditions is hard. Causes the body to sweat, which attracts germs that are easily passed from one person to another.
What keeps you so cool, man?
Dettol Cool combines Dettol's protection and an invincible icy feel. For super cool confidence, use Dettol Cool.
Dettol soap is now also available for 100 Naira only.
The time has come again when we all gather at the Unity Forum to celebrate the uniqueness of our cultural diversity and showcase the beauty of our cultural creativity and ingenuity. It's the National Festival of Arts and Culture, NAFEST, in the Garden City of Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Come, let's celebrate our culture and heritage. Hold it 20th to 27th October 2018. Special features, dance drama, traditional wrestling, indigenous textiles and cuisine, arts and crafts exhibition, entrepreneurship roundtable, skills acquisition, and many more. 20th to 27th October 2018. Be a part of history. It's NAFEST Rivers 2018, the festival that unites the nation. Otumba Olusegun Runshewe, DG National Council for Arts and Culture, announced.
Hello and welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria on Africa's largest television network, the NTA. Now it's time to update you in the world of business as the Accountant General of the Federation acknowledges impact of IPPIS and TSA in curbing corruption in the last 3 years. We'll now join Chimobi Walter Naji for more on our business news segment.
Welcome to the business news. The Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, has blamed the 2.06% contraction of the economy on the scourge of corruption in the financial sector. The AGF said the only way Nigerian economy can overcome its financial challenges is for government at all levels to put modalities in place through the optimal use of stakeholders in the financial sector in blocking the loopholes. He pointed out that the use of systematic measures to fight corruption have proven effective, especially through the introduction of IPs and TSA, among others.
Don't kill corruption. Corruption will kill Nigeria. In other words, fighting corruption is a collective duty to all of us, be as accountants, be as professionals in other lines of life, and whatever role we play in the society, we have a collective duty to fight corruption collectively.
Meanwhile, federal government has reiterated its commitment to collaborate with the organized private sector and the European Business Organization in Nigeria to grow the nation's economy and create jobs. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Job Creation, Office of the Vice President, Mr. Afolabi Imokwede, said this in Lagos while speaking on how to ensure effective dialogue between private and public sector to achieve sustainable growth and job creation in Nigeria. He noted that the present administration's economic growth plan are private sector driven through government-enabled strategy. And now to Nigerian Stock Exchange. Trading on the floor of the exchange Wednesday closed on a downward trend, recording about 0.11% with a total of 23,382.58 basis points. Here is a graphic representation of the closing figures on the floor of the exchange. And that ends the business news. I'm Chimobi Walter Naji. The program continues in just a moment.
All right, thank you very much, Chimobi, for the business package on Good Morning Nigeria. Next for us now is a review of some of the papers we have this morning.
To give more depth to our review this morning is our regular newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyebi. Bayo, good morning.
Thank you, Rhoda. Good morning.
It's good to have you join us this morning again.
Nigeria.
Yeah, Bayo, good to see you. Well, let's begin our newspaper review this morning by taking a look at the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. Daily Trust from top to bottom. Again, Senate rushes to amend Electoral Act. That story is in greater detail on page 3. Forbes faults IMF over Nigeria's economy. That's on page 18. And the late story says APC can't field candidates in Zamfara in 2019, and that's attributed to the Independent National Electoral Commission. With 2 riders, primaries took place, Shomole tells Commission, and governors meet Buhari again as lawyers and aspirants react. Right at the foot of the front page, missing general, Senate demands panel of inquiry. That's page 7. And how 5 ministers lost APC governorship tickets, page 14. Federal government and Labour bicker over new minimum wage, page 7.
All right, we'll go over to the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, just above the nameplate, it says, APC PDP senators unite to give Buhari polls budget speedy passage. That's on page 7. And 11 burnt in Abuja restaurant gas explosion. That's on page 5. And Zamfara APC dares INEC, vows to field candidate for the 2019 general election. Just to also state that on that issue, the chairman of the party has come out to say that actually primaries were held. That's a response. We have it on our news this morning that they had primaries at a hotel in Zamfara. They actually have a candidate, and it was agreed upon by all the delegates that that came for that primary. So
yes, the issue emanated from correspondence. INEC actually wrote and cited Section 87 and 31 of the Electoral Act that APC will not field candidates in Zamfara for 2019. But the chairman of the All Progressive Congress has also replied, and in his reply, he wrote that to INEC and explained that there was the primaries that were held between 6th and 7th of October at City Kings International Hotel in Gusau, and candidates were arrived at by consensus. So I think it's a letter making a notification and a response providing a clarification. So INEC and the party will sort themselves out regarding that election.
All right, let's quickly move on to the lead story. But before we take the lead story, just beside the nameplate there, it says Ngige says no agreement on minimum wage yet. NLC kicks And now the lead story for the Punch this morning. Primaries rep on collision course with IG over colleagues' detention. That's on page 7. That's the lead story for the Punch this morning. And the writer there says, will resist attempts to frustrate Electoral Act amendments, says Dogara. Let's quickly go to the footer of the paper there. It says AMCON wants polarized banks sold in 2 years. It's on page 27. EFCC vows to arrest innocent boss Chukuma. That's a story that's trending on page 42. Federal government charges Ekwerimadu Akpan with refusal to declare assets. That's on page 43. All right, Bayo, let's begin with the resumption of the national... okay? Proceedings at the National Assembly and, of course, other political issues that are trending.
Well, the National Assembly resumed with impetuses to speedily attend to issues that were pending before them. You'll recall that there were bills that were supposed to have been signed by Mr. President, and Mr. President had communicated reasons for which assent were withheld, and the committee has been set up. Apart from that, there are indications that a budget for INEC for the next year elections were pending, and both chambers of the National Assembly had indicated that they will speedily attend to all these things to make sure that things go well. However, the Minister for Labour and Employment has given some clarifications, and he says that the issue of the minimum wage talk is still ongoing. Okay. Also, the issue raised by Labour that a decision has been reached, and the Minister clarified that Labour has its position, the federal government has its position, state government too have their position. So also is the organized labor, and there's need for all these positions to be harmonized before a minimum wage will be announced to the public.
All right, Bayo, let's quickly now take a look at the New Telegraph. Inside the New Telegraph, I'd like to take some stories that are trending inside the paper. On page 6 of the New Telegraph, it says Buhari signs executive order on money laundering, tax evasion. It says Buhari signs executive order on money laundering and tax evasion. Let's now quickly go over to the New Telegraph, page 7. Page 7 of the New Telegraph. That's what I'll be taking out. It says court okays federal government request to serve charges on Ekwerimadu and Akpan. That's the story that I read earlier on the Punch. All right, Kingsley. See what we have.
All right, I'm taking the editorial now, and it's coming from Daily Sun. The editorial is at page 15. There's a D Tigress impressive outing. The editorial begins by saying Nigeria's women basketball team, D Tigress, surpassed all expectations at the 2018 FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup, which took place in Spain last month. They said the reigning African champions, along with Senegal, finished 8th at the end of the tournament, which saw the USA team winning it for the 3rd time in a row. The editorial concludes by saying that the last time President Muhammadu Buhari received the girls, that's members of the basketball team, in audience at the Aso Rock Villa, he rewarded them with 1 million naira each for emerging African champions. And it says, this time, our glorious girls deserve a higher honor.
Well, before you come to the editorial, the Executive Order 8 was signed 8th of October 2018. Mm-hmm. The aim is to actually regulate money laundering and tax evasion, particularly on assets that are abroad. The order indicates that every Nigerian, wherever you are required to pay tax wherever you are. And you remember what happens with VADES, when room was given for people to voluntarily declare the assets and pay a certain percentage. Yeah. It's a parallel to this now, but this one are for assets and property that are abroad. And the percentage of 35% is required to be paid on offshore assets. And so if people take advantage of this, then they will get the concession. When they feel like it was operated with VADES, they will be held accountable for their assets, and they will have to pay the full requirement required. Now the editorial. Well, the editorial is centering on commending the efforts of the Nigerian Tigers. That is the women basketball team that went to the World Cup. Prior to their going to the World Cup, you'll recall that they beat Senegal to emerge the African champion. And they have gone to excel in the sense that their rating in the world was 34th in the world. But at the end of the tournament, for which they lost to qualify beyond the quarterfinal, they are now placed 8th in the world. And this is why the editorial is pointing out that their achievement is quite tremendous. Yeah. For two reasons. One, it's a female team, quite unlike the prominence always given to the male teams. And so this is an exceptional performance that requires rewarding. And secondly, attention is now growing with basketball. The concern had always been football. So, and it's growing, and it's an opportunity for so many growing Nigerians who will take interest in that football too.
All right, thank you very much, Mayo. Hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow morning for another review.
Thank you.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria here on the NTA. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, our first item for discussion this morning is on the resumption of the National Assembly and matters arising. We'll see you in a bit.
It's not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
For years, the NTA has been promoting science, technology, arts and crafts under the tagged name National Children's Expo. We are set with another edition as we gather children around Nigeria, junior category ages 6 to 12 and senior category ages 13 to 18. The theme for Expo 2018, achieving self-sufficiency in agriculture, meeting the challenges of security and exposition of alternative energy as pathways to national development. Date, October 21st to 25th, 2018. Venue, NTA Headquarters Arena, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. We are set to celebrate the best of innovation across the country. For more information, please call the following numbers. NTA ETV, promoting learning.
Mama's cooking. Let's help her. Wait! My mama says before touching food, you should wash your hands with Safeguard soap.
But my hands are clean.
Can't see germs, but they're everywhere.
Look on the special blue light. To protect against germs, I recommend regularly using Safeguard antibacterial soap, as Safeguard is scientifically tested to remove 99% of germs.
That is why me, my mommy, my daddy, and my brother regularly use Safeguard.
Washing germs away.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Caring for the patients of typhoid and diarrhea is our responsibility. And these illnesses are often spread due to eating with unclean hands. So I recommend Dettol, as it protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why I want to be Dettol sure. Dettol, be 100% sure.
Dettol soap is now also available for 100 Naira only.
You in the air-conditioned office with the itchy throat. Strepsils. Girl in the spotlight with the raspy throat. Strepsils. You in the pollution. Yes, you. Dry throat. Strepsils. Hello in the downpour with the scratchy throat. Take Strepsils. Strepsils, with its soothing medicinal ingredients, will heal the harm done to your throat from external factors. Strepsils. Strepsils. Strepsils, for a dry, itchy, raspy, scratchy throat.
brought us as usual.
As usual.
Mm.
You have no problem.
For the three
You are welcome, sir.
as usual, yeah?
Welcome. You take that one. You take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Momo to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Right, it's Good Morning Nigeria still, and we're reaching you live at the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. As we indicated, the National Assembly resumed from its nearly 3-month recess on Tuesday this week. Today is Thursday already, but of course the members had to immediately proceed on a break because they needed to honor 2 of their colleagues who passed on. But there are, of course, matters arising from the resumption of the members at the National Assembly, and we have guests with us here in the studios now to discuss these issues in greater detail. First, we'd like to welcome the leader of the Senate, distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan. Distinguished Senator, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. Also here with us at the studios is Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas. He's chairman of the House Committee on Media and Public Affairs. Honorable Namdas, pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay. And the Public Affairs analyst joins us is Ibrahim Modibo. Of course, it's a regular face on Good Morning Nigeria. Ibrahim Modibo, pleasure to have you join us.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen, let's begin our discussion this way. I'd like to begin with the leader of the Senate, Senator Ahmed Lawan. There were a lot of issues before the resumption of the Senate. The polity was being heated up with comments from everywhere. And of course, I'm sure a lot of us were, just waiting on Tuesday to see, what's going to happen. But, everything just went smooth. Why? How did this happen, considering the comments that we were getting before the resumption of the House?
Well, even though you are not very specific with those comments that you said almost heated the polity, but I want to assume that some of us made statements in respect of what we want to see happen when we resume. I particularly, when I addressed the National Convention, I was very categorical when I said we didn't expect any less from our leadership to take on all the issues, especially the critical and crucial ones that the presidency had sent to us, and we couldn't attend to them. For us, that is the only way to understanding. That's the only way to working together with our colleagues, especially from the PDP, who at the moment are the leaders of the National Assembly in both chambers. And the national interest prevailed. We agreed that we must deal with all those critical issues that we didn't attend to before we left for the recess. For example, the INEC budget of 189 billion, which was in the Senate, considered yesterday, the request of Mr. President for the approval of the foreign loan, the $2.7 billion Euro bond, which we committed to our committee, and by Tuesday next week, the committee will be presenting a report. The confirmation of ICPC governing boards and other AMCON, in fact, AMCON we passed yesterday, and so many other important confirmations that we didn't do before. So if we could have that, why should we have any disagreements? We just felt we should, all of us, all our interests should be making Nigeria work. And how does it work? Give Mr. President, President Muhammad Buhari, what he needs to make Nigeria function. And if we could do that together, regardless of our political parties, there would be stability, sustained stability in the National Assembly.
All right. Excuse me, distinguished Senator Ahmed Lawan, thank you very much. Let's bring in now Honorable Abdulrazak NAMDAS. It must be heartwarming to observers of goings on in the National Assembly that indeed the members have resumed and the process appears to be less acrimonious than what was anticipated, considering, of course, the heat generated by the comments and statements with regard, to what would happen if the members resumed, and the pressure, of course, on the members to resume much earlier than they did on Tuesday. What, from the perspective of the House, has been the magic wand in soothing the frayed nerves?
Well, I think we in the House of Reps, I think we are very comfortable because the APC holds a very comfortable majority in that House of Representatives. And just like our leader just said, we are committed to ensuring that we implement what the president actually sent to us. For example, the issue of INEC budget. We are all politicians and we are in this country together. Elections must be funded and it must be done in a manner that is expected by the law. And we agreed on that. And the $2.7 billion the Eurobond that he just mentioned, we also mentioned it on the floor of the House. And we are on the same page with our leadership to ensure that anything that is coming from the president and that has very serious interest, we must not joke with that. And we as members of the APC, we want to ensure that nobody humiliates us. I want to ensure that we will ensure that all the manifestos and the programs and policies of the government is achieved. Given our majority, we cannot take that for granted. And that's why I think we may not have a lot of issues as far as I'm concerned, because we have the capacity to ensure that the programs of the president runs very smoothly. That I can assure you.
All right, thank you very much. Ibrahim Modibo, let's have your take on this. It would appear, therefore, from what we are seeing now unfolding in the National Assembly, that all that preceded it was a lot of hot air.
Well, let me use this opportunity to once again congratulate the National Assembly for the conduct so far of the legislative duties. Going by the vociferous nature of the Nigerian press, before the opening of this segment of the assembly, you think that there will be this kind of rancorous and highly agitated National Assembly. You think there will even be earthquake, because if you look at the way the media has reported, especially the social media, has reported quoting some of the senators and House of Reps that look, whenever once we open, we are going to bring down the leadership of the National Assembly. But we've seen that the National Assembly, in its wisdom, having men of courage, men of comportment, and men of wisdom, they sat down, articulated themselves, even if it is piece of the graveyard. It is a commendable effort. That so far, there has not been this rancor, there has been this peace and tranquility, and the exploits of the last 2 days is so impressive. Having said that, the issues before the National Assembly at this point in time is to look critically. This is the fourth time that the president has refused or has declined, so to say, let me use the word politely, has declined to have accent to the electoral bill. Let us look at it critically. Let them sit down and iron out some of the issues, especially the issue of sequence of events in the National Assembly. They have to look at it. If the president is not comfortable with it, then look at the way you can just come around under this current friendly and convivial atmosphere that so far existed in the Assembly. Because I strongly believe that this kind of feeling of ego has come down after the elections. I think it has brought peace and tranquility. That kind of ego and that kind of feeling of I'm more than this or this, I think it has come down. I think there's a friendly and convivial atmosphere. So far, so good. Even if it is piece of the graveyard, we must commit the National Assembly.
All right, Ibrahim Modibo, thank you very much. Let's return to the Senate leader, Ahmed Lawan, to drill into some of the greater details of what we talked about. Ibrahim Modibo has raised the issue of the Electoral Amendment Act, and while the National Assembly was on recess, the president indicated the reasons why he was declining to give his accent. How should Nigerians now expect, or what should Nigerians now expect from the National Assembly with regard to what would appear to be contentious provisions or clerical errors in the electoral amendment bill, which the president turned down?
Let me say in a general way that we set up a technical committee in the Senate to review all those bills that the president declined assent, with a view to learning from the decline. Definitely there must be a trend. We feel that we need to do a better job of legislation because so many bills were returned. And let me also commend the president for doing that. And why? It's because previous presidents were not even looking at our bills. This president will go through all our bills with a view to assenting until he sees something that is not right, and then he will say, I will not sign because of so and so. But that is very good for the relationship between the legislature and the executive arm of government because it gives you a chance to review the bills. For the electoral bill, let me say it here quite categorically that we have voted against sequence of elections in the Senate. We voted against it, and I don't think there will be any daring senator that will bring it back because majority of us in the Senate didn't see the need for that sequence of elections introduced. What Mr. President said he doesn't want in the present Electoral Act amendment effort, we are going to study those items and issues, and we intend to give Mr. President what he needs and what we think will make our electoral process better and more credible. So there's nothing like we are going to fight over this. This National Assembly in both chambers, APC is dominant party, and we intend to work with our president at all costs. We hope that our colleagues who are in minority parties, the PDPs, the ADCs, and SDPs, would continue to give us support that we once, for 16 years, gave them while they were in government. Mr. President desires to make Nigeria better. He intends to make the electoral process saner, more credible, and full of integrity. He suffered when he ran through 4 electoral processes. He had to go to court 3 times to show that he didn't agree with some of these things that happened. We don't want anybody to go that kind of route. We want the process to be very clean, so that when you win, you know that you have won in a very credible way. When you lose, you know that you have lost, not because you are rigged out, but because the electorates have decided to pitch their tent with their opponent. So we shouldn't have any issues because of the rejection. I believe that we need to work fast enough to ensure that we send back the Electoral Act and other bills that we feel are important to Mr. President after observing and maybe amending some of those areas that he observed that shouldn't be there.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Senator Ahmed Lawan. Let's get the views, Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas now. Senator Ahmed Lawan just said now that the House is ready to give the President all that he needs to function. And one of the things the President did was also to request. There was a request for borrowing, and many have agreed that this is very critical to achieving the goals of this administration. How is the House treating this issue?
I just answered that earlier, that we are working on the borrowing plan, and we have agreed to work on that. That is not a problem, but I just want to go back and address the issue of these bills, and particularly Electoral Act and what have you. Even just yesterday, about 15 bills were read on the floor of the House that the President declined assent. Interestingly, some of these bills had issues of typographical errors, some clerical issues, which I think we need to work on it. And we also had a 6-man technical committee to review some of these bills that were actually declined so that we can represent them. Unfortunately, I always say that it is wrong for us from the institution to have some of these typographical errors in the first place. We shouldn't have allowed that to go. But now that it has happened, I hope that our leaders will ensure that this will not repeat itself. We can't be transmitting a bill to the president with a typographical error. We should have the time to ensure that these things are corrected, which is very important. And about the sequence of bill, for example, in the House of Representatives, even from day one, when we had there are issues, we separated the matter. You cannot bring this. The electoral act that was transmitted to the president has no sequence of bill, sequence of the election. It is purely a normal one. We have not even discussed the sequence of election at all. And I'm not too sure that if it will even come up. And if it comes up, I'm not too sure that it can scale through. But this is a situation. But for the borrowing thing, we are really up and doing on that. And our colleagues, even in the PDP, yesterday, from the mood I've seen in the House of Representatives, they are not combative. They appear to be friendly with us. And just like the leader said, for 16 years, we gave them that support. They are not combative. So most of that we come out from an election season. Some have won, some have lost, and the bruises are there. We sit as a house to see how we work together to ensure that the Ninth Assembly, by the special grace of God, will be a very, very rancor-free house. I think that's my take.
Honorable Namdas, you already talked about your disapproval of some of the clerical errors that Mr. President has relied on to decline accent to the bills forwarded. Is it possible that the National Assembly probably now will be considering engaging the services of editors to help it, with the proofreading and cleaning up of the bills before they are forwarded? And I hope that if they do get engaged, that they will be paid their allowances so they don't have to carry placards.
We will not carry editor from here. Let's agree that it's normal that we are human beings. Once in a while, some kind of things can cross your way. But I think it is important that we avoid some of these little errors, because that will be good for us.
All right, but still sticking with the two lawmakers, one of the key points that was always popping up in the course of public discourse with regard to why the National Assembly needed to reconvene had to do with the budgetary proposals by INEC. Here we are, time is already running out. We have just about 4 months to the commencement of the 2019 elections, beginning in February. Now, something significant also happened just before the National Assembly resumed. The Speaker of the House of Representatives indicated that INEC's budget would not, INEC's budget now, the supplementary budget or whatever it is so labeled, before the National Assembly, would not impact on the capacity of INEC to prepare for the elections. And it drew attention to the existence of a service-wide vote from which the executive could draw to fund the operations of INEC, so that there are no complaints of unavailable materials and so on and so forth. Is this also the mood in the Senate, that while the National Assembly is working on the supplementary budget for INEC, that of course there's recourse to the service-wide vote from which the executive could tap?
Well, before I answer that question, let me quite briefly comment on the $2.78 billion Eurobond, the foreign loan component. In the 2018 budget has that provision for the borrowing. And this is particularly for our infrastructural development. So all of us in the National Assembly understand this very well. And therefore, we have decided, I know the Senate did, and I can imagine that the House will do the same, because we operate and think in the same manner, that time is of essence here. We have already lost so much time. Our administration has not been doing that kind of infrastructural drive like it started, because we couldn't get this loan approved. So we will approve that immediately. The issue of loan, I mean the budget for INEC in the Senate, today we are going to pass the 189 billion naira budget for INEC, and that will comprise of the 2018 and the 2019 requests. For the security agencies that will supervise the elections, we intend to deal with that in the next legislative week. That is between Tuesday and Thursday of next week. But the summary is we intend to pass these provisions expeditiously because we understand that INEC needs this. Before the report of our Committee on Appropriations that will come this morning, I have no idea where we are getting the money from. So I will not comment on whether it is service-wide votes or whatever. But all I know is we are going to approve this budget for Mr. President for INEC to start the purchase of especially specialized equipment and technology that they will use to enhance our elections and add to the integrity of the outcomes.
Honorable Namdas, let's get your views on this.
Well, I think we know it's the same chamber. So we are almost on the same page. We will also approve that. And our committee on the appropriation has actually briefed us, and we have no issues with that. We are going to get the money, certainly, but it's not for our television viewers to be listening to how. But I can assure you, we will take it from some of the subheads, and we will approve that. That you listen to the news by tomorrow, and I think by today and next week it will be over.
Give us the news now,
Yeah.
so that we are first.
No,
with
we
it.
are approving. We are going to approve that.
What is it that you're talking about? Is it a Eurobond or?
No, I'm
it's
talking of the INEC
budget.
budget.
INEC
That
budget.
will get it.
All right, Ibrahim Modibo. Well, this is again, it's sweet news, as it were, with regard to the earlier anxiety whether or not INEC might have the resources to proceed with the smooth conduct of the 2019 elections. Is it?
Yes, I think there's every need for every Nigerian at this point in time, every Democrat of conscience, to celebrate the fact that we are moving forward. By this singular act of magnanimity, by this singular act of cooperation, in spite of all the problems that has confronted the National Assembly, for them to pass this, this budget for the elections of 2019, I think it's a welcome development. And apart from that, I strongly believe that the National Assembly, coming on board at this point in time, is confronted with some other myriad problems. They have to critically also look at the PIB bill, which is very paramount and very fundamental. Secondly, they should also look at the issue of confirmations. This issue of confirmation of the remaining Central Deputy Governor of Central Bank, as well as Ibrahim Magu, if it's possible. Because it's a recurrent decimal. So in the interest of this cooperative attitude, in the interest of this peace, rather than rancorous posture that most Nigerians were thinking about, I think there's a need for them to sit and settle down and think of all these confirmations, and also remaining confirmations which will make the president be happy. Thirdly, I also strongly want to believe that there's a need for the National Assembly to also critically look at the welfare of some of their staff, which has been a contentious issue. The junior staff or the intermediate staff have been carrying placards, and I think it's not healthy to our democracy. You cannot put fire in your house when you want to catch a rat. No. Your house must be in order first. Make these people happy. They are the ones that are preparing all the bases, everything that you think, they prepare for you. So you have to have a very solid and comfortable house to make your government very successful. And thirdly, I also want to think that the National Assembly as it is today, I think it's in tandem with the thinking and philosophies of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, coming in to tame corruption, fight insecurity, and also fix the economy. Provide the necessary infrastructure facilities for the propelling of progress of development of this country. Looking at the issues of laying solid foundation for electoral process, instituting constitutionalism and rule of law, and also opening the political field for mass participation of Nigerians. I think it's a commendable effort, and they should carry on.
Well, quite reasonably, how much time and attention, my question is still to you, Ibrahim Modibo, how much time and attention should the lawmakers devote to some of the urgent businesses they have on their desk, considering that, look, electioneering is almost on now, full blast. With the primaries over, of course, they have to wait for the lists to be submitted to INEC with regard to who the candidates are. But thereafter, you're going to have, obviously, absences from the chambers while urgent business is on. So from your perspective, How much would you like to see them do with regard to some of the outstanding issues? You already mentioned the petroleum industry bills. There are 3 of them, 4 of them actually. One of them is still contentious. The president hasn't responded to that.
Yes, because as it is today, there are about 15 to 17 bills that the president has declined access. And there's a need for the National Assembly members, even if it means working 25 out of 24 hours, they should sit down and work, because that is why they've been paid to do. And I strongly believe, as people of integrity and people that want to propel the progress of this country, to make sure that most of the things that the president wants, if it is in line and in tandem with the constitutional provisions of this country, they are ready to undertake. I think there is the need for them to work on. Because as of yesterday, even the Electoral Act, I mean, the INEC, looking at the INEC chairman, talking of, there were some amendments. There were some contentious issues even within the senators, especially in terms of funding of what every senator or member should fund, should spend during this thing. So I think there's a need for them to harmonize issues, sit down, look at the issues critically. And I'm very impressed with the expeditious approval yesterday of 189 billion for INEC as requested, as against the request of 240. At least we've gone somewhere. So therefore, the National Assembly, as it is today, should expedite action. They wasted a lot of time during this break, because that break, as far as I'm concerned, the longevity of that break and the constant, shifting of the break, I think is unnecessary. If you lie down too much, that laziness will come in you. But there's a need for them as active members of Nigerian polity to come up and work. They can work, I tell you, if they want to do it, they can do it, because I know they have men of foresight and men of progress that can achieve the more desired goals.
All right, thank you very much, Ibrahim Modibo. Of course, so many people have said that the long recess on its own has affected the smooth implementation of the budget to an appreciable level. But then the question I'd like to ask is, how do we ensure that at least before the fiscal year is over, there's an appreciable implementation of the budget?
Well, let me say that Ibrahim Modibo was preaching to the converted. At the beginning of this program, we have made it abundantly clear that we remain on the side of the president. Whatever he wants, that do not cross the Constitution in a bad way, he will get. We have agreed on this with our colleagues who are not necessarily APC, with our leadership, especially in the Senate, that this is our understanding, that we in APC will work with them, they will work with us to give Mr. President whatever he desires to make Nigeria better. So having said that, let me also say that yesterday we passed the confirmation for the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank. We are going to do ICPC today. So we are on this, we are on top of the situation. The budgets, the supplementary budget for INEC and the security agencies, and of course the approvals for the foreign borrowing, these are things that we have taken to be topmost priority for us. We have to ensure that we pass this between now and the next legislative week, because for Eurobond, the government has to go out and get the money. And I'm sure, because Nigeria is still enjoying a very good standing, we'll get even much more than we are looking for. So we need to expedite action, because the next few months, like you have observed, politicking will come in, and it's not only the legislature, even the executive. So the ministers will be out in the field. Some people in the presidency will also all be out in the field. So we need the money for infrastructure development to be deployed as quickly as possible, so that while we are doing our politicking, contractors will be busy also doing their work. I believe that we can achieve that, and with determination of Mr. President and his team, and of course the cooperation, partnership, and support from the legislature, we can achieve our desired target.
I'm also just wondering, just before we take the tweets that have come in, one issue that, of course, has lingered for a while. Sometimes some of us still have confusion as to when the budget year runs now. 2018 is coming to a close. The appropriation for 2018 was passed pretty late. You had a number of months before it got passed. 2018 is coming to a close now. And the relationship between the executive branch and the legislature is such that there were claims that indeed backroom negotiations went on with regard to the appropriation bill that was tabled. Are we likely to see, for instance, a nudge for the preparation and the presentation and tabling of the appropriation bill for 2019, considering the pressure cooker that the political class is getting into in the electioneering season?
Well, let me also say that the budget runs for 12 calendar months. So if the budget was signed in July, it will run until July of next year. If the executive decides, for example, to come up with the 2019 budget proposal, definitely the National Assembly will work on it expeditiously. I'm sure there is a new thinking in the National Assembly today. The kind of foot dragging and lackadaisical attitude that maybe characterize the relationship between the National Assembly legislature and the executive arm will not be there anymore. Because for us in the APC, time is of essence. We have lost over 3 years to wranglings, to unnecessary bickering between the legislature and the executive. For us, that has undermined our government. So we have decided, with our colleagues who are not APC, that we have to work together, ensure that Mr. President and this administration gets whatever input from us that he wants and needs. So I believe that we are not going to see that kind of happening or that kind of attitude that we saw before. But then let me also say that it takes two to tango. It's not always that the National Assembly is at fault. Sometimes some elements in the executive would not do their job thoroughly. This is a fact. If they don't, we have a problem because we need the kind of information that will help us also process the budget estimates. So I think we need to work together closely, and I have no doubt that the current thinking and understanding in the legislature, in the National Assembly, is that of cooperation and partnership to ensure that Mr. President and his administration succeed.
Honorable Namdas, is that the same sentiment in the House?
I really want to make a clarification about the issue of long-term break that is experienced in the National Assembly. Please, the National Assembly has a calendar that is strictly followed. It's not as if you wake up one day and say you choose, okay, you have 3 months to go on break. No, it has a calendar. We know even when our next break is coming up, when anybody sees it. So even when after the time this annual budget came, it's not as if we decided to go on a break to avoid deliberating on the INEC budget. No, it came the following day we were going on break. So it was not as if it was meant to be to frustrate the executive, and more so that even when we were aware, our committees were aware, worked on the INEC budget, so to make sure that we are on the same page. So I think we are not there, just like he said, for us to frustrate the executive, but the executive truly must also do their own part, because these arms of government have some kind of independence and interdependence. So you cannot be independent alone. You have to work with other arms of government. If budgets are written by the executive, only considered by the legislature, then we have to wait for the budget to come before you even worked on it. I think we will not waste time again.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable Namdas. Let's quickly take the tweets and comments we're getting from our viewers via Twitter handle. Remember, you can be a part of this conversation by tweeting at us at our Twitter handle at NTAGMN. Our first tweet is from Festus Akimboyewa, and it says that the APC and PDP legislators have taken the heat out of the politics by eating their humble pie. It's good for Nigerian. The outcome of the party's primaries, where some members have lost their tickets, have rendered confrontations between the opposing legislators unnecessary.
This tweet is coming from Victor Uyoswoma. It says, I must commend the National Assembly for placing national interest over and above party and individual interest. They should go further by expediting action on pending bills before the campaigns begin.
And this one is from Philip Gomrep. It says, I must truly commend the determination, courage and understanding, maturity and wisdom of all members of the National Assembly. The way and manner they miraculously turned down the expectation of Nigerians in handling the session is commendable. Please let nothing put aside this great wisdom. Those are the tweets that we have now. It's on that note, would like to thank all of our guests who've joined us this morning. for our first discussion on the resumption of the National Assembly. And of course, you've listened to them on the matters that are arising and how they've handled some of them so far and how they intend to handle the rest. First of all, I'd like to thank Ibrahim Modibo, who's a public affairs analyst and, of course, a friend of the House. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you.
Honorable Abdulrazak Namdas, the Chairman, House Committee on Media and Public Affairs. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
And of course, finally, a very big thank you to Senator Ahmed Lawan, who's the leader of the Senate. Thank you very much for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a short break now. And when we come back, very, very important issue, the girl child in Nigeria. Stay with us.
Their Eminences, Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Muhammad Sahad Abubakar, and Cardinal John Onayekon, Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, cordially invite the public to a 3-day interfaith conference on religious harmony in Nigeria towards the 2019 general elections. Date, 11th to 14th October 2018. Venue, Sheraton Hotel, Abuja. Nigeria's President, Muhammadu Buhari, will address the conference while the...
In Nigeria, the insurgency has complicated the situation of the girl child, which advocates say have worsened. Government's resolve and the participation of national, international NGOs is, however, giving hope of reversing the situation. Focus of the International Day of the Girl Child is mostly on education, nutrition, child marriage, legal and medical rights. What is the state of the Nigerian girl child? Is there progress in her situation? Where should Nigeria do more? Who should do what and where? Guest on Good Morning Nigeria will be providing answers to these and many other questions on the state of the girl child in Nigeria shortly.
Aisha, thank you very much for that background. Now we have with us here in the studios distinguished Senator Binta Masi Garba. She represents Adamawa North Senatorial District and is also chair of the Senate Committee on Women Affairs. Distinguished Senator, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Also right here with us in the studios is architect Tayo Enrile. She's executive director of Tabita Kume Foundation. Good to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
And last but not the least, we would like to welcome Isa Muhammad Takuma, his National Coordinator, Association of Positive Youth Living with HIV in Nigeria. Takuma, pleasure to have you with us also on Good Morning Nigeria.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right, Rhoda, let's begin the conversation. Of course, we're having the Day of the Girl Child, and back we are to the same question for us in Nigeria. How is the girl child faring?
The girl child in Nigeria is marginalized, vulnerable, carries the burden of so many. Many of them are heads of households. Many of them are just managing to survive, especially those in the hard-to-reach communities. And so, on a day like this, we're amplifying the voices of the girls that do not have a voice, the girls that need to be heard and given an opportunity to fulfill their potentials.
All right, thank you very much. Let's get the views of us, Senator Binta Masi-Garba. The Day of the Girl Child was declared precisely in 2002. It's 16 years on in Nigeria, especially Nigeria. How much progress have we made so far?
Well, is this 2002 or 2012?
2002.
Okay, I think it was, there was this lady, the Minister of Women Status from Canada, who came about a resolution within the United Nations General Assembly and brought about the girl-child issue, which was adopted by United Nations, and that is how it has been almost 16 years ago that you have made mention. By name, I think Ronald Ambrose, who obviously taught about the girl child and the ills that surrounds the girl child. Unfortunately, she's a Canadian. Probably she must have one or two issues to have dealt with issues in Africa, and I think those ones are predominantly within the African and Asia. where the girl child, just like what my sister said, has been marginalized or is still being marginalized. Maybe again because of culture or traditions and the issue of a girl that needed not to be heard. And she needs to do what is expected of her, do all the necessary work. Being a mother having a child at home, definitely needed to be taught what should be expected when she grows up. But I think it has been bastardized on the issues about that surrounds a girl child. Most of us are being denied necessary issues that would be beneficiary to the girl child. Like in the household, the boy is being given a kind of status that obviously he's been known that he is a man and the responsibility of the household is not his, but the girl. So, and some parents believe that a girl child is cursed because if you have too many girls in the house, they believe that you don't have a right to inheritance. They believe that once if you are grown up, you'll be getting married, so you won't bear your father's name and what have you. But with people speaking out to know that a girl is not cursed but a blessed child, just like what the Bible made us to understand that children are inheritance of God and the fruit of the womb is a reward to those that believe, irrespective of whether you are a he or a she. But the notion now is that we should look at the girl child as a blessing, but not a curse, either to the society or even to the family where she belongs to. So we are expressing our joy that someone came out with a notion that the girl child should be given the adequate respect, not to be used as a slave or as a sex object, but she should now know that there is a potential in her. And when given the necessary support, she will make the best out of it. And definitely there are girls or women that have been better off in the society despite the ills they've gone through.
Well, just before we bring in Isa Muhammad Takuba, I'd like to return to architect and relate. While you were taking up the condition of the girl child in Nigeria, it seemed to have been a recast of some of the very well-known woes about the girl child. Is this to suggest, therefore, that little, if no progress has been made by governmental, non-governmental organizations, and indeed various communities with respect to seeking to improve the welfare and condition and therefore the status of the girl child in Nigeria?
Well, presently, we are working on a project called Educating Nigerian Girls in New Enterprise 2. It's a UK DFID project through their Girls Education Challenge, and Mexico is taking the lead in Nigeria, working with 21,000 girls all over Nigeria. And in the FCT, we have 1,872 girls in 27 schools and 29 communities. And what we're doing is to help the girls, in-school girls, to transit from one level of education to another. Because the main problem with the girl child is that she starts school, but she's not able to complete because of household responsibilities. Sometimes she's the head of the household. They cannot afford to continue paying school fees. She has to work for her brothers to go to school. You know, these are the stereotypes because the boy is believed to be more important than the girl. And then also we work with out-of-school girls to help them to go back to school. Girls who have had early pregnancies and lost the opportunity to continue their education. Girls who are sometimes sick. Girls who have, no money to go to school. Girls who are vulnerable in different ways. So we work with them to see that they go back to school, sometimes through non-formal education, because some of them cannot go back to the formal schools. And this we do in collaboration and partnership with the Agency for Mass Education and other FCT agencies through the Education Secretariat. And this way, we can help empower the girls so that when they have a skill or they are able to do something to get money for themselves. We have also done that in Engine 1 through Coca-Cola, and it has empowered the girls. Some of them, through the money, were able to get back to school. Now we're also making sure that the girls they improve in their numeracy and literacy skills, because we know that without that, they will not be able to transit to the next level, like transit from junior secondary to senior secondary, and then to the university. And this year's International Day of the Girl's Child talks about be with her, a skilled girl force. So now we even want to go beyond, just helping them to go back to school, but also to allow them to have skills that are non-gendered, skills that is not necessarily, because one of the stereotypes is that a girl should be a nurse, a girl should be a teacher, but boys can be pilots, they can be engineers. But now we're looking at skills that are scientific, technology-related, innovation, engineering, and maths-related skills. Because girls have
How are your target audience members responding to the array of activities that you have indicated? Because that's actually the kernel of my question. Because if over the years, since we've been marking the International Day of the Girl Child, if all of these activities have been carried on by different NGOs and so on and so forth, well, is there a measurement of the impact? Are we seeing a ramp up, for instance, in the status of the girl child? That's the impact assessment.
Yes, well, some impact has been made, but definitely there's much more work to be done. Because, like especially the girls that are in underserved communities, there are so many of them. What happens is that once they drop out of school, they just go into the daily routine of fetching water, and taking care of their households. But when a girl gets pregnant, but the boy continues with his education, he's able to, go as far as he can go. So we have to, pay attention, especially to the marginalized girls, and that's the girls that we work with. And if they're able to be trained, for instance, with the Agency for Mass Education, there are different kinds of non-gendered skills. They do painting, bricklaying, mechanized, they make machines. So the girls have opportunity to match their interests to the work that they can do.
All right. Thank you very much, Architect Tayo, and we'll come back to you. I just, Rhoda, I wanted to ask Isa Mohammed Takuma. I have a question, of course, not necessarily related to orientation, but I just wanted to find out, are we now having the right aptitude and indeed attitude towards the girl child, following the advocacy messages that the country has been bombarded with over the years? Now, is there a realization now that the girl child is indeed a special product, a special species, if you like, that has to be encouraged, nurtured, because of the immense values that are embedded in her?
Well, that was a long question. I think I'll take it one after.
All right, let me shorten it if you want.
Yeah, but I'll try to take it in bits. Talking about understanding the potentials of the girl child, I think it's a factor of our appreciation of rights and education in totality. We do not, as a country, truly appreciate the essence of education. We believe that education is a privilege for the individual and not really a potential benefit to the society and the government as a whole. And that's why I took out my time to try to understand what the real objectives of education are. So the first would be education is meant to be a vehicle to transfer orientation of the community, which is the community's advantage. It's supposed to be a way to deliver the potentials and the capacities of the individual, which is personal. It's supposed to also suppress the exposure to vulnerabilities, which is also personal. But then education is also it helps to prepare the individual to be applied to the resources of the place. That is structural. That is government. It also helps to resolve group challenges. That is also a government advantage. Now the question is, through the years, year after year, we celebrate the Day of the Girl Child. And year after year, we find girls languishing in their millions and many others dying because we failed to understand the link between education and what we have produced as our girls. Now, looking at the work of non-governmental organizations, which mine is part of, government organizations and the rest, one missing link there is, how do we tie these loose ends together? She was just talking about the beautiful project which is done, which I am unaware of, because we do not really bring everything together. We have government agencies that sit in their comfort zones and wait for people to come drop reports on their laps. We do not find them on the streets trying to find out what is going on. What are these needs? How are our girls vulnerable? How do we tweak our curriculum, in school and out of school curriculum, to respond to these needs and ensure that they don't get burnt away by these vulnerabilities? We have issues turning up year after year. And year after year, we go out, like my auntie here, the senator, apologies to you and your colleagues, but you go out and you sign treaties that you know that you are not willing and ready to implement. We have the Child Rights Act. Lawmakers
don't sign treaties.
Yeah.
Or they ratify on the basis
but of course, I am not a lawmaker, so permit my mistake. But then, you ratify them. Do you hold the executive responsible and accountable and work with civil society to ensure that these things are done? We have the Child Rights Act. We are begging states to domesticate, and it's not being done. So I think that we need to work together as stakeholders and ensure that our girls are prepared for the women they will be tomorrow, and not just to be able to read and write and count numbers.
All right, thank you very much, Issa Mohammed Takuma. Let's take now the Honourable Senator on some of the issues that you have raised. First of all, let's look at the Child Rights Acts that are still not being domesticated. That's one. And also, two, the issue of early marriage and unwanted pregnancies is still rampant. And one wonders what could still be responsible for this.
Thank you very much. I think I was a member of the House of Representatives when the Child Rights Act came on board, and we passed it. Out of 36 states, 24 have ratified it, domesticated it, and it depends on each of the states that is left for the people or the community to now know. A girl, obviously, if she's been deprived of anything, she has the right to go and seek for redress. There was a success story of a girl in Yemen who was married at the age of 9. But when she heard of this thing, she took it upon herself and went and made a civil organization, just like yours, and they stood by her. And the girl was, she got all what she desired. One, at her age 9, that she was given out of marriage. Even a Nigerian girl at the age 9 could go through such. Will she go through the rudiment of what that girl did? So she has broken the barrier even within the Middle East. Or in that area that such a thing happened. And she got an international honor for standing on her right and fighting for her right. And Nigerians cannot run away from that. But we have an impediment in our country. The next thing they will say, the culture. If a guy should do that kind of a thing, is that obviously you are bringing a curse to your family. But except and when the government stands to take some precautive measure to now know that laws in Nigeria, we have stringent laws that obviously when being put in place will put most of these defaulters to bar. But again, who will want to take the first slide? I remember one of the critical areas we faced, then the Minister of Women Affairs was Aisha, from Kano. And they're trying to put, the age of a marriage, which obviously that a girl could not be married out until she's 18. And what was the essence of she being 18 is that by then her reproductive organ will have been developed, so she can be competent enough to carry pregnancy. And the issue of the VVF then was very rampant. Girls getting married at a tender age and trying to give birth, they have this vesicular, vaginal issues. And it was a tug of war within the traditional and Islamic, the religious group, where they said, no, you don't need to. And what I told her is that, look, let's be silent on the age. But a girl, at least in rural area, for her to finish her JSS3, she should have been at the age of 18. And at that time, obviously, you can do whatever you want to do with a girl at that point in time. She has gotten the necessary basic educational qualification. She will have known her rights, and she can stand in anywhere to make one or two things as a living to her life. But we talked about domestication without looking at the instrument of implementation. Because now if you, I'm up till today being the chair of the Women Affairs. I've been there since 1999 as a chair in Women Affairs. And areas of interest to me, obviously, is the girl child. Without, I have said it over and over, without the UBE of 1976, I wouldn't have been in school. I've been a victim of the girl child in one way or the other. All of us in Africa, we have been victim of that, of marginalization here and there. Some of us have been deprived, but we needed to. And it depends on the girl or an individual. What do you want to become in life? Once if you can determine what you want to be in life, all the impediments, obviously, the hurdles you will cross over. But the most important thing is there are laws that are on ground, but mothers sometimes are afraid. Like when you shoot a girl that is raped at the age of 3. I remembered when I was in the House of Representatives, a girl was raped at the age of 3. And by who? A teacher that ought to have taught her religious knowledge. She was brought in here. What happened? At the end of the day, the guy was left loose.
Yeah, Senator Binta Garba, you just touched on one of the critical issues that I thought you could have time to address. Using the instrumentality, for instance, of the Women's Affairs Committee, working in tandem with your colleague in the House and indeed other legislatures, and if possible with the executive branch. There are at least 3 issues that we find these days regularly and in the news, and these are not very palatable stories. One of them you just touched on, rape of the girl child. It's becoming more frequent. Second one has to do with incest. You are seeing fathers, sleeping with their daughters and sometimes making babies with their daughters. And thirdly, which is also probably related, is the issue of baby factories all over the country. In some parts of the country. How can these issues be addressed? Because they touch directly on the girl child.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. The law is there, but it's the implementation that is always our problem. Because when you talk about a girl that is raped at the age of 3, what will make a man to rape a girl at the age of 3? Or even if you rape a girl at the age of 21, it's not with her consent. But the joy that we have, even in our universities, we've been hearing of lecturers that have been dismissed from their workforce because of trying to entice women, the girls or the ladies.
That's sexual harassment.
That's the sexual harassment, which obviously people, the girl, I think from Ife came out on board and made mention of it. And today, so other people, they might think that the girl does not have any shame. But obviously she has broken the glass ceilings by coming out. So somebody somewhere must start the campaign. The campaign has been there. But we as parents, we as Nigerians, we must look at every child out there as our own. Even there is a time we discussed this last year on the floor of the Senate. And I asked, some of us, even our wives, are part of the problems because you bring a girl from the village. And the question I ask, every mother will want the best for her child. But it's just because of the opportunity or the privilege, the environment they found themselves. And I said, okay, let's give one out and see if that person can become some useful in society. But our behavior towards such a girl is not palatable at all. You have a girl in the house, you bring in another small girl, and you want her to do all the works in the house, and your daughter is sleeping. You're not sending a good signal to that child. And until we now look at every Nigerian child, either from the east, west, north, and south, as a Nigerian, and we have to play the motherly role on that child, then definitely we might not go anywhere.
All right, Senator Binta, thank you. Architect Tayo and Relay, what needs to be done? Some have said that one of the major challenges we face in this country is not just the absence of laws, but that we have a plenitude of laws. Implementation is our greatest challenge. So how then can attention be focused on the maladies that the girl child face today? I take them again: rape, incest, and baby factory syndrome.
Well, it's very important that all stakeholders, right from community level, in fact, right from the home, make up their minds to speak for the girl and to support the girl child. Now, many times, girls do not have people that they can talk to. They don't have people who mentor them or that they can confide in to say that these are the issues. And then at the community level, religious leaders, traditional rulers, government agencies, government, and of course the legislators should come together to speak to support the girl child. Now, with regards to curriculum and what he spoke about, we came together with government agencies to work out a curriculum for the girl child. We sat down together and worked on it. And then also, it is important that we must know that the girls are looking for who. They don't want to, girls want to know that their potentials must not die. So we all need to speak for them so that their potentials can be realized, so that they do not live empty lives, but they become all that they want to be. Right. They have great potentials, and if we all come together, we'll be able to achieve that purpose.
All right, thank you very much, Architect Tayo Erile, Executive Director, Tabitha Kumi. Thank you very much for coming on Good Morning Nigeria today. Also, a very big thank you to Isa Mohammed Takuma, is the National Coordinator, Association of Positive Youths Living with HIV in Nigeria. And finally, a very big thank you to Senator Binta Masigarba, Adama North Central Senatorial District Representative, of course, Chairperson, Women Affairs Senate Committee. Thank you very much for coming on the program this morning. Indeed, we're out of time. The girl child issue is something we'll continue to talk about. We thank you also for being there. We thank you for being with us this morning. We've been on two issues, and one of them is on the resumption of the National Assembly, matters arising, and of course, finally, the girl child. Thank you for watching. I'm Rhoda Anona. We'll see you again tomorrow. And I'm Kingsley Osadala. I join Rhoda in thanking you also for tuning in. As you said, the program returns same time tomorrow, 7 o'clock in the morning. Enjoy the rest of your day.